So going back to our AWS, a primary question inside the interviews of AWS is about the experience of AWS. So let me just give you a sample brief of how the interviews will actually start. So the questions will be something like this. Do you have any experience on AWS? Have you done any migration? Anything about CloudWatch, any apps, password rotation? The apps were internal or external? How was the network architecture? How do you protect your AWS infrastructure? What is your day-to-day work in AWS? How do you go and provision the EC2, and what's the difference between S3 and EBS? So these 10 questions will be nailed down by the interviewer in front of you, and eventually the more you take on it, for example, if you understand more about EC2, the questions will go and straight away jump into EC2, where I will have primary services of EC2, which are multiple services over here. So that is how a general interview looks like. Now, let me give you an example of an interview that happened for DBS in Singapore. What is a CFN? What is a nested stack? How to pass the parameter? What is CI/CD, Lambda function? Do you know how to write the code? Do you have experience in any other language, Node.js, Java, Android? Do you have any experience on RDS? Why can't you do RDS on EC2 with a database? Is it possible to host SQL on EC2? What is the difference between running SQL on EC2 and RDS? How do you go and architect and develop in AWS? And do you have any questions, basically? So in this case, as you would have understood, the primary things were focused more on the SQL Server part of AWS. By that, I mean, how do you actually go and work on AWS? And you basically go, okay, yeah, and you basically go and create your database. So looking at the interviews here itself, you can understand that this one is primary on the services part of AWS, by which I mean the database as a service part of AWS, or EC2 part of AWS, or RDS part of AWS. Okay, so this is in short how the interviews will look like. So let's get started with the topics that you need to understand inside AWS. If you have a screen grab, please go and take a snapshot of these services that I have favorites over here. If you need to know AWS, you need to be pretty good inside this part of AWS, which is backup, CF or CloudFront, CloudTrail, CloudWatch, Cognito, Dynamo, EC2, IAM, Lambda, Lightsail, RDS, Route 53, S3, Glacier, SNS, SQS, VPC, and WF and Shield. For the people who are taking my morning classes, you would have seen we have started with the priority services of AWS, which includes our DynamoDB, then our RDS, then our S3, then Glacier, then SNS, and then WAF and Shield. So this is what the primary things inside AWS, or the services in AWS. You need to know these services, as simple as that. AWS is a combination of multiple services. Whether you understand all of them is fine. You don't need to understand them. But these services, though, you will have to understand. There's no if and but on that. Now, next part inside this, the primary services when we work on AWS is how do you go and create your first EC2, then comes your S3, Glacier, then inside database is your RDS, which is a SQL database. It's good if in case you are opting for any startup, please go in for your DynamoDB and DocumentDB or Keyspace. Now, DocumentDB is your MongoDB, Keyspaces is your Cassandra. If you know Keyspaces, you will get many brownie points in the interview, because Apache Cassandra, just go and take a grab of it. Apache Cassandra is basically used by companies like Apple, Uber, Google, Facebook, Netflix, and so on. So these companies use it. Apple over here, Reddit over here, Uber over here, Netflix over here. And anyhow, it was Cisco over here. It was developed by Facebook itself. Okay. So Apache Cassandra will give you many brownie points if in case you are looking for any startup. So pay focus on Amazon Keyspaces. Those of you who have done Keyspaces would realize that it is actually pretty straightforward. Yes, it is, but you should know about it. Okay, then if in case other startups, you should know for DocumentDB. You might have heard a lot about MongoDB. If not, MongoDB is a NoSQL NoSQL database, which is an object store database, basically. So the same way as you write your JSON data, you can go and write inside MongoDB also. The difference between MongoDB and Apache Cassandra is MongoDB is not structured, whereas Apache Cassandra is a structured database. Okay, Apache Cassandra is faster as compared to MongoDB. Apache Cassandra does the writes faster as compared to MongoDB. Apache Cassandra and MongoDB both are multi-geography. By that I mean you can create a cluster inside your Mumbai region also, and you can do it inside US region also. That anyhow is now supported inside document DB also, wherein you can create a global cluster. That brings us to point number 2 for the day, wherein when asked, how do you ensure that your deployment or your database deployment never fails? The answer to that is I go in for a global cluster. Now, the story behind this is, let's say I have my database cluster inside Mumbai. I have it inside Mumbai availability zone 1A. By that I mean inside one data center inside Mumbai, I am having my database server 1A. Next, what if 1A fails? I'll also have in 1A and 1B. Okay, someone has a question, please ask. Okay, nothing, then fine. Okay, so let's say I have my database in 1A. So how do I ensure that if my one server goes down, other are still up and running? Simple. What you have in 1A, put it in 1B and put it in 1C. Basically, you create a cluster out of it. How? Let's go have a look at it fast. So let's say if I go create a cluster over here, advanced setting here. So where do you want to keep the data? I want to keep it inside this subnet group. So let's say something like this over here. And then if you go down, you will have option to go and select multiple availability zones. So you go and put your machines inside 1A, 1B, and 1C. But how to do that? For that, you can go just say create a cluster, give it any name. Let's put a logical name, cluster -1, and let's say cluster -1 for Mumbai. And then I'll say that I need to put it inside 1A, inside this subnet, add, and inside 1B, inside this subnet, add, and inside 1C, inside this subnet, add. Okay, let's remember the name. It is cluster -1. And if I click on create over here, and if I go to clusters now, because my subnet already I have decided, and I click on create over here, and now if I go to advanced setting, this part is important, and I'll select my cluster 1. Now, because I have selected 1A and 1B and 1C, and because my instances are 3, my machines will be inside 1A and 1B and 1C. Here you will have 2 questions. First, what if it is not 3, it is 2? I had said 3 machines in 3 AZs or 3 availability zones or 3 data centers. Or if you understand a data center, good. If not, in very layman term, assume if you are in Bangalore, Amazon has an office in Marathahalli, in BTM, and at Whitefield. So they have the availability zone in Marathahalli, one availability zone in BTM, and one availability zone in Whitefield. So 3 availability zone. So let's say if there is an internet issue or a power issue in Marathahalli, my machines in BTM or my data centers in BTM and Whitefield will still be working. So that is what is meant by my availability zones. Okay, so increasing the number of availability zone always increases the throughput of your application. By that I mean if one goes down, other are still up and running. Fine. So what if I have only 2? No worries, it will put it inside 1A and 1B. What if I have only 1? In that case, it will put it inside 1A. What if I have 4 over here? Then it will put it 1A, 1B, 1C, and then again 1A. It goes in a cyclic order. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. So a generic thing is, how do you ensure that inside a region, you do the deployment in such a way that there is zero downtime? Remember the keyword zero downtime, no downtime. It simply means that if a machine is gone in one availability zone, the other 2 are still up and running. Answer is pretty straightforward. You go create a cluster inside 1A, 1B, 1C, and that's pretty much it. You don't have to do anything inside AWS. And that's the magic actually of AWS. You should know how to do the settings. What happens? You don't even have to work on that. That is what AWS is doing for you. But then here comes the next question. What if my Mumbai cluster itself goes down? Then, well, that's a problem. So assuming Bangalore, Marathali, BTM, Whitefield, all three are down. In this case, it becomes an issue for me. So this type of infrastructure, when you have to go and create, this is known as a global infrastructure or a global cluster. First of all, it does a disaster recovery. What it means is, if my Mumbai region goes down, no worries. I have my backup inside Singapore and North Virginia. By the way, why didn't I say other regions? There's a reason for that. Okay. Now, this information is pretty new, so it's fine. Just have a look at it over here. Not all the regions and not all the clusters will support the global clusters actually. Okay, that's pretty important, because if you say that I have my cluster in Mumbai and I want to also create the cluster in, let's say, in Paris, that's not possible, because with Mumbai, you will have Oregon, North Virginia, and Ireland. Okay, so that is how the clusters actually are created in multi-geography. So if one region goes down, the other two are still up and running. This thing is known as a global cluster. Now, this thing is also not available with all the services of AWS. And this is important because in case if I ask you, I need to create my global cluster for, let's say, Amazon Key Spaces or Apache Cassandra. This, as much as you try, you cannot do it because it doesn't support itself. How can I see that? Let's go to Key Spaces, click on Create Key Space. Let's give a name, let's say Key Space -1. Oh, just a minute here, Key Space 1. Have a look at the class over here. What does it say? Single region strategy, which means if in the interview, I ask you, I have to work on a NoSQL database. Can you tell me how do I create a global cluster inside that? You should understand Keyspace will not support the multi-region strategy. It will only support your, or the only thing that will be supported will be your document DB, which goes in for your multi-region strategy. Okay, so one important thing, not all the services on AWS work on the multiple region strategies. This also, by the way, is the deployment strategy, which we are going to talk about in some time. But for now, if in case anyone will ask you about the global cluster, or how can you go and ensure that the disaster recovery happens at the region-wide level, your answer will be, it is possible inside NoSQL within DocumentDB and inside your SQL or RDS inside your Amazon RDS. There also it is supported for few specific databases that will be Aurora and MySQL, but more on it we will understand inside our database class. So coming back to our DocumentDB or MongoDB, if you create a cluster and you want to go and take a global cluster, you can do that. Yes. Okay, next part of the story now. This is important because whenever we talk about NoSQL database and basically about global cluster, why do I need it? First thing is, if any case there is a outage. By the way, what's outage? This can be seen by AWS status page. Here you have status.aws.amazon.com, and over here it will tell you if in case there is a problem inside any of the region. Okay, so looking over here itself, you can understand that in North America there is no recent event. Let's go to our Asia Pacific and it says no recent event. So basically I do understand that there is no issue inside my AWS service as of now. But is this the only place where I can see that? No. There is one other service known as PHD or Personal Health Dashboard here. PHD, Personal Health Dashboard. that will tell me if in case there is a problem inside any of the services of AWS. Have a look over here. My region, by the way, is AP South 1. Okay. All the things, majority of the things are in US East 1 over here. Okay. Now I see one of the things for me over here because we had gone for the direct connect inside AWS over here, and then AWS raised a ticket for that are you actually interested in getting that? So in case if there is any downtime inside any of the regions of AWS, you will know it either inside AWS status page, which is status.aws.amazon.com, or you will get it inside your PhD. Now, why is this thing actually important? The reason for that is, let's say you go in for a global cluster. This actually happened with us. So the use case was that it went inside, we deployed this inside our global cluster, and the traffic of India was being routed to North Virginia. Now, it actually serves us two purposes. If Mumbai goes down, data goes to North Virginia. If North Virginia goes down, data goes to Mumbai. What if none of them is going down? Both of them are working the way they should be. In this case, the data is actually routed based on latency. Latency simply means the delay. For example, you ask me a question, I can answer it within 1 second or within 1 hour. 1 second is preferred, so low latency is preferred. So what happens is, let's say someone from India is trying to open the database, they will be routed to the servers in India, and someone from, let's say, California is trying to open the database, they will be routed to the servers in USA. So based on the region itself, my database routing will happen automatically by AWS. What if Mumbai goes down? Then people of India will be routed to North Virginia. So it serves me two purposes. Remember that global is always two things. First of all, it will ensure that if there is an outage, that is handled. Second, low latency is also handled because it goes in from your nearest cluster. So people of USA will go into USA. Let's say people of West Europe will be routed to the servers in North Virginia, and people of East Europe or Russia and on will be routed to the servers in Mumbai, and so on. So that is what is meant by my low latency and region-wise outage. This thing is important because whenever you go and talk about deployments won't happen in single region only. They will happen in multiple regions. If multiple regions are there, you also have to consider what if a outage happens in one place, will the deployment happen in the next region or in the same region? If both are down, then what I do? If one is down, then what I do? And if both are up and running, then what do I do? Let's say Mumbai is also working and North Virginia is also working. Do I stop them to the new deployment, start it again, basically downtime of, let's say, 5 minutes? Anyone has any question? Okay, fine. So let's say, do I go in for the deployment where I need to make a change? So will it happen like I stop Mumbai, I stop North Virginia, give a downtime that, see, my machines will be down for a span of 30 minutes. No transaction has to be done at that point of time. Then I make the changes. I start my machine in Mumbai and North Virginia. This is how we did it back in 80s. It is no more done now. Okay, next part. What if I go and first make the deployment in Mumbai and I keep North Virginia as it is? This, by the way, is known as a Canary deployment, but let's see what it is. I have my changes in Mumbai and in North Virginia. So what I do is I make the changes in Mumbai first of all. I stop Mumbai, North Virginia is working as it is. So if anyone tries to open my database, they will be going to North Virginia only, either India or USA. I stop Mumbai, traffic is going to North Virginia. Now I make the changes inside Mumbai. Once it's all done, I start my region of Mumbai again. And now my traffic is again being redirected to Mumbai and North Virginia, both the places. Once it is done, after 1 hour, I'll stop North Virginia. Now my entire world's traffic is being routed to Mumbai. I make the changes in North Virginia. And then once I ensure that everything is working the way it should be, I enable North Virginia again. Now my traffic is again going to Mumbai and North Virginia. What if Mumbai and North Virginia both go down? No worries. Create a new region, Ireland, Europe. So now what I do is I stop Mumbai, Ireland and North Virginia are working. I make the changes in Mumbai. Once it is all done, I add Mumbai. Now I stop Ireland. Traffic is going to Mumbai and North Virginia. Make the changes in Ireland. Add it again. Traffic is going to all the three places now. Now I stop North Virginia. Traffic is going to Mumbai and Ireland. I make the changes in North Virginia. I started. Now traffic is again going through all three places. This, by the way, is known as a Canary deployment method, or people also call it as a rolling update. Yes, Swapna? Okay, so this is also known as a rolling update. So what happens is first I make changes to 1, then I make it to 2, then I make it to 3. Zero downtime. Yes, you will see some increase in the latency. You might have seen in your banks or in your okay, just a minute. Good. What kind of changes? Shiva, just give me 2 minutes. We'll come back on that. Okay. So next part over here. Why will I need to do this? First thing. And second thing, you might have seen some companies will say we are performing a upgrade on our servers. You will not see any downtime, but you might see a high response time. What they mean is latency is increasing. And why will latency increase? Let's go back to our story. People in India are opening the database in India. It's taking 1 second. If people of India open Ireland, it will take 2 seconds. And if people of India are opening North Virginia, it will take 3 seconds. On a sunny day means everything is good. If people of India are opening the servers of India, it takes 1 second, right? Now, let's say I shut down my servers of India. I am making the changes. The traffic is now going to Ireland and North Virginia. Does it mean my services are all stopped? No. It simply means that the traffic, instead of going to Mumbai, will be going to Ireland or North Virginia. So instead of 1 second, you will be seeing either 2 seconds or 3 seconds. That is what they mean. After some time, anyhow, after half an hour, when the deployments are all done, Mumbai still goes up, right? So there is no changes only over there. So what happens is this is what you generally see. So next time when you talk about this, or in the companies they talk about this, please tell them the same thing, that this was how we did the rolling updates inside the global tier configurations. Okay, this is also a deployment strategy known as rolling strategy. Coming back to the question, what kind of deployment will I actually do? Or why will I even make the changes in the first place if I am working on a database, right? Good. The answer is, what is MongoDB supporting right now? Let's have a look over here. It is supporting version 4.0.0 or 4.0.0. Let's go back and let's see it live only actually. Okay. So MongoDB now has to be, the latest release is 5.0, which happened 4 months back. AWS is still on 4 only, but MongoDB has become version 5. Now, companies will say, when you have MongoDB version 5, why am I still working on version 4.8? Client or the companies will say, go and upgrade my cluster from 4.0 to 5.0. What you have to do basically over here is, so let's take it live only. If I have to go and install MongoDB on Ubuntu, what you have to do is pretty straightforward. You just have to go and run 1 if you are Ubuntu 20, 2, 3, 4, done, and reboot the machine. But 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, these commands you have to run, right? It means you are upgrading the cluster. Also, you will need to take a backup of the cluster, right? So you take a backup of the machine. then you stop the machine, then you install the new version of the software, in this case MongoDB, then you go and run it again, then you go and verify if everything is working the way it should be, then you add it to your cluster. So Shiva, your first answer is, if in case I need to do the upgrade of my machines. Okay, first answer, I believe you understood this. Second part, can't this be done by AWS themselves? Can't they do this automatically? Why do they have to come to me and I have to go and do this? The answer is, you don't have to worry about it. Maintenance window is created by AWS themselves. Don't do anything. Just go and select the window that each Monday at this time for half an hour AWS, you go and install whatever updates are there. If any software patches or security patches have to be done. Now, what is a software patch or a security patch? That is the same thing that happens inside your Windows every day. You get some security updates, right? You click over there, it is installed, and it will ask to reboot your machine. Same thing over here. MongoDB or any software for that sake might release a security patch or a software upgrade. There are two ways of handling that. Either no preference. Don't worry. AWS will automatically do it for you. And will any downtime be there? If you remember, we talked about this, right? 3 machines were there. My cluster had how many machines? 3 machines. First, machine 1 will be removed. Changes deployed. Then machine 2 will be removed. Deployed. Then machine 3 will be removed. Zero downtime. Yes, latency will increase. We understand that. But downtime will be 0. Either you tell AWS, see, you don't have to worry for me. AWS, you do the preference. You decide yourself when to install the patches. You do it yourself. But in reality, this is not done with no preferences. In your interviews, you will only be saying select window. Okay, you will decide when the software patches or the security update will be done. Now in the interviews, you will always be talking about RDS. I'll be telling you the same over here also. But while it opens up, let's come back over here. And I will say that each Monday at this time, it has to happen. And why don't I go for no preference? Why is it that the companies will go for select window itself? The answer is because AWS does the patches based on machine learning. So what happens is, just before, let's say I observe that on Sunday at 4 a.m., there is less traffic. Week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, there is always less load on the servers. So on 5th Sunday, AWS AI will automatically understand that, see, traffic is less. Next time, no, on 5th Sunday, I will make the changes at 4 a.m. It will plan. Now, you have a sudden change of plan. Your developer team says that there is a very important upgrade in the backend code which has to be deployed at 4 a.m. Those people have planned independently. That cluster is working on, let's say, our ECR and ECS. Okay, here and here it is working on maybe even Kubernetes. Fine. Those people deployed the changes at 4 a.m. Unknown to you, AWS had also planned it at 4 a.m. Now what happens is AWS changes it at 4 a.m. Remember, downtime is not there. But your development team also deploys it at 4 a.m. When the development team deploys it at 4 a.m., they will start to see that the timing has increased, latency has increased. For no reason, there will be a confusion now. Development team will say that, see, earlier we used to see the package deployment done and the latency was 1 millisecond. Now it is becoming 3 millisecond. Why is this happening? For no reason, there will be a confusion. They say once, now it is taking 3 millisecond. Is it a problem with the backend? Or is it a problem with the database? For no reason, the database team will be said that please wake up and see that what is the problem. And then nothing much. Database team will say, Array, we got the automated email from AWS, right? At 4 a.m. it will happen. Then the development team will say, why didn't you tell us? To stop all that confusion, what we do is we select our own window. We don't tell AWS. And next time I will tell everyone that, see, okay, remember it is UTC. Okay, so if in case I need to do the deployment at 12 in the night, I will go and make it 18:30 over here. So each Sunday at 18:30 hours, or let's say each Saturday at 18:30 UTC, the deployment will happen automatically, which means Sunday at 00:00 hours, AWS will automatically go run the patches, run the modification, run the security thing. Now across the company, everyone knows that whatever deployment you do, don't do it on Sunday at 00:00 hours. Do it at 1 a.m. or at 11 p.m. Don't do it at 00:00 hours. Also, remember these are 3 instances, right? What if it was global? AP South 1, 3 instances, North Virginia, 6 instances, 9 instances. One downtime takes 5 minutes. So the whole cluster downtime will be 45 minutes. So in that case, you will tell the company that, see, for 45 minutes, you don't do anything. 45 minutes, the modification, 15 minutes verification, 1 hour bhi you don't do anything, 12 to 1 you don't do, rest you do whatever time you want to do the deployment. That is how you build the infrastructure. This story, what I told you, as it is, tell in the interview also. This is what you work on in real time inside AWS. When you say that I was working as a database person inside AWS, or as a DBA, AWS cloud architect, AWS cloud developer, based on your experience, you can say. If you are only DBA, then fine. Less than 5 years, you are AWS developer. More than 5 years, you might become a developer or a AWS architect, depending on your skills. Now, this is NoSQL. What if I want to do the same thing inside my SQL database, RDS? One important thing inside RDS, and pay attention, you will always say, those of you who have worked, no worries, say anything you want to do. Those who have not worked and you are giving the interviews, telling that you worked on AWS, you will say MySQL and the version number will be 5.6.35. Not 34, not 37, not 39, only 35. That's it. Keep it in your mind forever now. What did you work on inside AWS RDS? MySQL. Which version? 5.6.35. Why only this? The short answer is because I told you, and this is what the companies are using. Long answer, this is the most stable version of MySQL -1. -1 simply means latest one is what? 5.7, right? Companies always go for the latest or the latest working -1. So you go for 5.6. So 5.6.35 is the answer. Remember this forever. Now, next. Then you will have a question, why not version 8 over here? No, 8 is NoSQL in MySQL. So in short, don't be confused. Just mug up 5.6.35, take a screenshot, write it down in a piece of paper right now. Okay. Yes, I will be telling you, no, interview questions. Okay. Next over here, they will what we talked about, the maintenance things, right? So let's go over here inside the RDS and going down, maintenance, select, and what time you want the maintenance to be done. Okay, now there are 2 ways. You said that, see, MySQL version is 5.6.35.001 and the next version is 5.6.35.002. This is a minor upgrade. Why can't AWS do it automatically? My answer is fine. Go and enable auto minor version upgrade. In this case, AWS will automatically go and do the upgrade for you. This is minor. What is not minor? 5.6.35 here to 5.6.37 is not minor, it is major. 5.6.35 to 5.7 point something is major, but 5.6.35 point something to 5.6.35 point something is minor upgrade that AWS can do automatically for you. And this thing is important because they will ask you for sure about the databases, and they will ask you what is the database minor version upgrade, and they will ask you, how did you do it? Your answer will be, we never did it. AWS did it. But how did you do that? Your answer will be, I went, let's go from the beginning. While creating our RDSA database, and while clicking on create database, and while selecting MySQL, this is more for the Indian companies. Okay, they want to know how did you do it? Tell me step by step. And going for version, let's say 5.6.35 here. You don't see minor, right? Why? Because important, you have to go for additional configurations over here. Yes, minors won't be shown in dropdown. Correct. So if you go for the advanced settings and then you go for maintenance, here you just have one magical checkbox. Okay, so this will automatically happen for you. If you want, you can go and select the maintenance window. Always say deployment happened on Sundays at 0400 hours only. Yeah, Shiva, okay, a question answer for this one, MySQL login console. No, you see, even if you see minor upgrade, no, in reality, what we do is we don't trust the console, though you can see it here. You actually log into that MySQL database and you go and look from there only, no, show version number. So even if it shows from here, no, in companies, you won't be seeing it from here. You will be going log into the database and asking the database itself, what is your version number? Okay, that is how it happens. It will show you, yes. The short answer is yes, long answer is not required. You see it from the console itself. Okay, fine. Going back, always it will happen at 0400 hours on Sunday morning. Every company does this. Those who are working on databases as a service inside cloud. Sunday at 0400 hours mean for Indians, it will become 20 to 30 hours actually. Add 5.5 hours to it, it becomes Sunday at 0400 hour. Based on your time zone and your geography, you can go and change it. But for Indians, it is this time only. Why it is like this? Because Sunday generally load is less, and if in case there is a problem, you can go and fix it on Sunday. Mondays and on weekdays you don't deploy because you don't want the development team or the DBA team to focus more on RDS. This thing is created so that you don't have to do the hassle yourself. If you do it, then it might become a problem. Okay, everyone is following the same process. Yes, AWS and Azure. So Azure, okay, Azure, this is known as a Cosmos DB actually. Okay, here, Azure Cosmos DB. Whatever I'm talking about, no, MongoDB, the same over here is your Cosmos DB here. Story remains the same. Mumbai with USA, South America, or here. Here also it is a global deployment for MongoDB here. Here we call it document DB, here you call it Leaf inside Azure. Concept remains, any cloud provider does the same only actually. Okay, so this part over here, and this is how basically you go and do the deployments inside your RDS databases. Okay, now because one of you had asked for the interview question, so let me go and give you another quick one. Okay, now there is a service known as Terraform also. This was asked in Airbus in North Virginia. Terraform, what was the setup, challenges, why Terraform and not CloudFormation? Then have you worked on the container? If yes, have you worked on Fargate? Do you have experience in Kubernetes? How did you create the pods? How did you create the YAML? How did you manage logging and monitoring? Did you use AWS, something like, this is the answer also, by the way, X-Ray service, interesting service of AWS by which you can go and view the logs automatically? Or did you use any other tools? So actually what majority of the people use is ELK, Elastic Logstash and Kibana. So how did you do this? Okay, and then how do you resize the volume dynamically? How do you, okay, dynamically, let's go and see it here itself once of, because we have already seen RDS. Chandru, your question in next 20 minutes, I'll be telling. Okay, security levels. It's actually pretty complex. It's a whole AWS security in itself is a big thing. We'll be talking about that. So going back, how do I ensure that my volumes are auto scaled? What I mean is my storage is, let's say, 100 GB. What if 100 GB is full? AWS will automatically increase it, right? How? Pretty straightforward. MySQL, and let's go for the version 5635 here and have a look over here now. I am saying that my volume is 100 GB and enable auto scaling. It simply means if at all it reaches 80 GB or 80% of it, it will automatically increase it to 120 GB or 200 GB. Okay, depending on how fast the data is being used. So just this magical checkbox does the job for you based on your needs. In this case, you don't have to do anything. AWS does it. But what is the maximum limit to what I can do? The answer is you can give over here based on the maximum storage threshold. So just give the number over there. So 80 GB, 100 becomes 200, 300 up till 1000. Want to increase it? No worries. Go and change it. Yeah, it can become. But what's the maximum limit to it? There is some maximum limit, 65,536 GB only. Anything more than that, AWS will not allow you. Okay, so here, though anyhow, you should understand that 65 terabytes of data inside a volume is anyhow a bad solution. You don't want that. Instead, you will have multiple volumes, or let's say 64 volume of 1 GB each, rather than having one big volume of 65 terabytes. Okay, and why that? Because if one volume goes down, what happens? My entire database will go down, right? So I'll have 65 volumes of 1 terabyte each other. Okay, now going back, how do you resize it dynamically? So this is the answer for you in short. How do you do it then? Let's say if you have one AWS account, how do you go and migrate all the apps inside that AWS account? And then what is the approach for the environment with 400 apps? What steps will you take for migration? So how do you do that migration when you have something like 400 apps? This was North Virginia, Airbus, North Virginia. These people more focused on Docker and Kubernetes. Any US company in short is this part here, ECR, ECS, EKS. And then inside this, you have an interesting scenario where you have something as a Fargate instances, basically. So a Fargate instance in short is, so okay, what you do is you go and select any database, this one, and then you go and create the cluster of whatever type of machine you want. You can either take an on-demand instance or a spot instance. Now, in this case, what actually happens is you decide your machine size. Let's say I need one machine of 2 CPU and 4 GB RAM, or maybe 4 CPU, 8 GB RAM, maybe 8 CPU, 32 GB RAM. What's the problem? There's a big problem. And that is, what if that machine goes down? And what if I thought that I will be needing 4 CPU, 8 GB RAM, but in reality, I needed 16 CPU, 64 GB RAM. So how will AWS handle that for me? The answer is Fargate instances. Fargate instances don't have any size as it is. Okay, let me show you an image. More about it, we will be talking in the AWS classes inside our DevOps. So you don't have to worry. We'll deep dive into this anyhow. But in short, Fargate instances, don't worry. Just go and build your container image, which is nothing but our ECR over here. ECR is my container. Name itself is telling you Elastic Container Registry. You just go and build your image and you deploy it inside Fargate. You need 1 CPU, 2 GB RAM. Fine. You need 2 CPU, 4 GB RAM. Fine. You need 16 CPU, 64 GB RAM. Fine. Here, there is no size on the constraint. The good part is there is no constraint. You don't have to worry. The sad part is billing. By the end of the month, because there is no upper limit on it, no, the bill can explode like anything. So customers will be happy, and customers will be happy. They will say these machines are very fast. The only sad part is on first, when the bill is generated, the client might not be so happy because the bills have exploded. Now, if IRCTC was using Fargate instances at 11 a.m., everyone in India will get the ticket. The problem is 5 million people opening that server at that very time, and the servers exploding like anything will increase the bill to a very high degree. So why don't I use a Fargate instance? The answer is because I have a constraint on my billing. I can't have $1 million bill in AWS itself. So I don't use Fargate, though interesting concept actually. Okay, so this is few of the interview questions, those who were focused more on the ECR and ECS and container. Then next one for migration, this one was Infosys. How do you migrate the application? How can you go on Terraform? What is the nested stack? What is the Lambda function? Shell scripting? Do you know any programming language? C, C++, Java, Node.js, and so on. Then do you have any experience on MySQL? And your answer will be yes, 5.6.35. Then do you know the limitation of Lambda function, and have you worked on the pipeline concept? Pipeline concepts are more on the Jenkins part actually. Lambda function is when you create your own serverless environment. So serverless environment simply means, again here, you run the server as it is without worrying about the underlying architecture. So let me just show you Lambda once. We'll be talking into deep diving into it actually when I talk about CI/CD in AWS. But at a top level, I need to create a Java function. If I ask you to go and create a Java program or a Node.js program, which will just print hello world, what will you do? First, take your machine, install Node.js, install Java inside that machine, write the program, execute it, which means just to go and run a hello world program, unnecessarily, I will go and install Java and Node.js inside my machine. If required, I will go and remove it. Okay, so in this case, what do? I don't want my servers to run or install Node.js or Java. Rather, I will just create a function over here. Let's call it as hello-world. And I will say, what runtime do you need? Which one? Node.js, Go, Java, this, whatever it is. Take any one of them. Create function. Done. This function is created and you can go and run any program inside that Lambda function. No need to go and buy a VM or a machine. No need to go and create a VM, install Node.js, run your program. Instead, over here, straight away, you can go and run any program. The beauty about this is you have the UI in front of you. No need to even work on Visual Studio Code or Atom Editor or any editor for that sake. Just go create the program, run it over here as it is, and that's pretty much it. This is the beauty of serverless environment. Okay, you can automatically go and work. Now, Shiva, what is it? Is it a PaaS or a SaaS? It's interesting actually. Why? Uh, there's no definite answer, but the short answer is it's PaaS, but it's not like that actually, because you see here I have created a platform. Okay, in that platform, I have my Node.js application, but that platform can be used to go and create a software. Let me give you an example. You create a program which will go and resize that image. Okay, this program is created inside Lambda, inside Node.js, let's say Node.js version 14. So what are you using actually? PaaS, platform as a service. Inside that, you created a small program which resizes. You have created an API for that. And this API will go and trim it. What have you created? SaaS. So inside PaaS itself, you can have SaaS. So Lambda, you don't have any definite answer. In the interview, the short answer is PaaS, though. Okay. Going back, how to go and create my EC2, or if I have to go and work on EC2 instances for that sake, just go run that program, and whatever program is there, just run it as it is. More about it inside our Lambda classes, we will see how to go create it. If you are adamant, just go and take this repository and alike inside GitHub. And over here, I have